Live from ABC7, this is Eyewitness News at 8 p.m. on LA56.
An urgent warning in the Inland Empire after a woman is attacked by someone posing as a police officer.
Possible cases of Ebola popping up as the government steps in to stop this disease's spread. The new screenings being put into place at a number of airports.
And is the FBI closing in on an ISIS member who's appeared in many of the terror group's videos? What authorities are saying tonight. Good evening, I'm Colleen Sullivan.
Now, David Ono, welcome to Eyewitness News in LA56. A female driver assaulted by a man impersonating a police officer, and now the search is on for a suspect. Eyewitness News Inland Empire reporter Leticia Waters has more on the man police are searching for.
Of course, if you think it's a real policeman, you're going to pull over.
But Corona police are warning women to be on the lookout for someone posing as an officer. This after a woman was attacked last month in their city.
Feeling that she was being pulled over by a police officer, she came to rest. The subject contacted her, and shortly after being contacted, a sexual assault ensued.
Investigators say the victim was driving on Railroad Street near Sheridan when she was stopped. The victim told detectives the suspect wore a dark uniform and drove a dark-colored car with a spotlight. The suspect vehicle also had a forward-facing red light, much like what you'd expect to find on a real patrol car. Police don't have a lot to go on. There is no sketch, but the suspect is described as a male Hispanic in his mid to late 30s, around 6 foot, with a large build and short dark hair.
We don't know if this is a person that's out there doing this to other people. We don't know if this person was known to the victim.
And Corona news of the incident had many women today rethinking what they might do in a similar situation.
That's really scary because, the first thing you do when you see a cop, you want to pull over. So, I don't know what to do.
I'd probably get in the car and drive up to the first lighted, populated area that I could find and stop there.
Leticia Waters, ABC7 Eyewitness News.
And anyone with information on the case is urged to call Corona Police at 951-279-3623.
The first death of an Ebola patient in the U.S. touches off serious concerns about the spread of the disease. Today, a suburban Dallas sheriff's deputy showed several symptoms associated with Ebola. He also went into the apartment where Thomas Eric Duncan was staying in Dallas. Duncan, who after 10 days of treatment died this morning from Ebola.
At 12:32, Frisco firefighter paramedics responded to Care Now, which was an urgent care facility here in the city of Frisco, on a possible Ebola patient.
Doctors in Dallas are now running tests on Sheriff's Deputy Michael Monning. Monning among those responding to the apartment where Thomas Eric Duncan was staying. Today, Monning went to an urgent care facility where the staff reported a patient exhibiting signs and symptoms of Ebola. The Frisco police chief says Monning claimed he had contact with Duncan, but federal and state health officials say there was no direct contact between the two men. The CDC is monitoring this case and watching the group of people who did have direct and indirect contact with Duncan, the first U.S. patient diagnosed with Ebola.
We are tracing the 48 people, 10 with definite and 38 with possible contact. None of them, as of today, has had fever or symptoms suggestive of Ebola.
But the CDC says it's anxious and carefully assessing the people since they are not out of the 21-day waiting period. The CDC also calling Duncan's death this morning deeply saddening.
He is a face that we associate now with Ebola. We think about this and we remember what a deadly enemy Ebola is and how important it is that we take every step possible to both protect Americans and stop the outbreak at its source in Africa.
As part of an increased response to the Ebola epidemic, the government plans to begin taking the temperatures of travelers from West Africa arriving at 5 U.S. airports. That's screening at New York's JFK, Newark, Washington Dulles, Chicago, and Atlanta.
The hospital that was treating Duncan says his body will be cremated and will be enclosed in 2 bags, and the bags will then be disinfected.
An emergency closed-door meeting to address asbestos concerns at several schools in Huntington Beach. Over the weekend, an asbestos fiber was found on the campus of Hopeview Elementary School, a possible result of construction done over the summer. That campus, as well as Oakview and Lakeview Elementary Schools, have been closed and will remain closed until at least Friday. After many concerned parents came forward, officials debated closing all 11 schools in the Ocean View School District. No word yet on what was decided at today's emergency meeting. And a high-speed pursuit ended with a crash on the 5 freeway in Santa Ana this afternoon. 4 suspects, 3 males, 1 female, are in custody. 3 of them were arrested at the scene. One of the men tried to flee on foot but was picked up a short time later outside a nearby mall. Investigators say the 4 are connected to a rash of burglaries in the upscale Orange County community of Nellie-Gale. 3 of the suspects were transported to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. The driver of a second car hit by the suspects was not injured.
3 burglary suspects hit into a home in Burnett Avenue and Moore Park Street in Sherman Oaks, and it's all caught on tape. Do you know these men? They're suspected of burglarizing a home on Tuesday, September 16th. The suspects took electronics and jewelry. The 3rd suspect, a female, waited in a pickup truck, possibly a newer model Dodge Ram 4-door. The air tanker pilot who died fighting a wildfire in Yosemite yesterday has now been identified and his remains have been recovered. 62-year-old Craig Hunt of San Jose was a 13-year veteran pilot with DynCorp International under contract to CAL FIRE. His aircraft crashed into a steep canyon wall at the western boundary of the park alongside Highway 140, which remains closed. David Louie of our sister station KGO-TV spoke with the pilot's daughter.
Craig Hunt was always at home in the cockpit of a plane. He flew air tankers as a contractor for CAL FIRE for over 13 years. Before that, he was a lieutenant commander in the Navy, flying P-3 submarine chasers out of Moffett Field. But his daughter, Sarah Lauterbach, says he was also interested in science and nature.
He was just very smart all throughout my college, my entire childhood. At the dinner table, he would teach me about arachnids and hemoglobin and anything that had to do with science or birds or animals.
He also knew about wildland fires, responding to help with aerial attacks in places difficult for ground crews to reach. And when fire season was over, Craig Hunt taught chemistry at UC Santa Cruz. Sarah says he thrived on helping young people.
That he spent countless hours grading their papers and making sure that they were taught correctly. He took pride in that. My fondest memory of my dad is in our living room. He would sit under the light and read his organic chemistry and his quantum physics. And then he'd want to teach me, and I'd of course run away. But that was what he enjoyed learning.
Hunt also knew how to relax. He was passionate about fly fishing, hiking, and scuba diving. And there were family barbecues. Yet there was always time to help his golfing buddy and neighbor.
He would drop anything in a heartbeat if he needed help or assistance. I know the last thing he helped me with was installing some closet doors upstairs.
Hunt recently celebrated his 39th anniversary with his wife Sally. The couple met in college. A father, a teacher, an outdoorsman, a pilot. Craig Hunt was 62 years old.
He was my best friend. He was there for me every day, anytime. He was always there for me.
In San Jose, David Louie, ABC7 Eyewitness News.
5 grass fires may have combined into one, forming a raging wildfire in Northern California. The fire is burning about 40 miles northeast of Sacramento. Plumes of smoke could be seen from miles away. Mandatory evacuations are in place from Weimar area. At least 3 structures have burned. They appear to be homes. The fire started along Interstate 80 this afternoon, shutting down the eastbound lanes. About 350 acres have burned so far. No word yet on a cause.
Fierce fighting along the Syria-Turkey border as Kurdish forces try to stop ISIS from taking over the town of Kobani. ISIS fighters have been trying to capture the town for weeks, forcing thousands of residents to flee into Turkey. The U.S. has been conducting airstrikes, but that hasn't stopped ISIS. Today, President Obama was briefed by the Pentagon on how targeting ISIS has become more difficult as the terror group lowers its visibility. In the meantime, the FBI is conducting a worldwide manhunt for an ISIS member, possibly an American, who has appeared in many of the horrific videos released by the terrorist group. ABC News has learned that a huge wave of tips is coming in, and are they getting closer? Here's ABC's Brian Ross.
The FBI said today it has received what it called a substantial number of tips about the identity of the masked ISIS fighter, believed to be an American or a Canadian.
The flames of war are only beginning to intensify. The fighting has just begun.
Today, the director of the FBI called the investigation a top priority.
So it's a huge focus of all of us in law enforcement, try to understand who's being recruited, who's flowing, who's looking to flow back.
Whoever is behind the mask, he's not likely to surrender. The video he starred in documents a series of cold-blooded murders, more than enough evidence to put him in prison for life or even face the death penalty.
Most criminals try and hide the evidence. These are proud murderers adopting a murderous ideology of hatred.
Given the sensitivity of the issue, the FBI website tip form surprisingly makes no provision for confidentiality, asking, although not requiring, for full name, phone, and email address.
I think clearly they need to have something that the public can see to feel comfortable that they can remain anonymous, which that form unfortunately doesn't do that.
Again, that was Brian Ross reporting. He says a senior FBI official told him tonight that agents are actively pursuing strong leads based on all the information that's come in over the past 24 hours.
President Obama is set to arrive in Southern California tomorrow afternoon at 2 p.m. He will hold an event in Santa Monica to talk about the economy and then a political fundraiser at the home of actress Gwyneth Paltrow. On Friday, he is set to designate about 350,000 acres of the San Gabriel Mountains as a national monument. We'll have more on that controversial decision coming up on Eyewitness News on LA56 at 8:30.
And new details about the violent beating at a 49ers game.
Up next, the suspects make their first appearance in court.
Plus, a California homeowner notices his alarm going off and finds something in his driveway. That's the wrong video. He finds this in his driveway. What he is saying about this close encounter with a giant mountain lion.
Okay, well, that's interesting. Jonathan Novak here. Hey, the temperatures were cooler today than you've been seeing, but they're getting even cooler. How low will they go? Details coming up in your 7-day forecast. Stick around.
Jay Leno is making plans to return to television. I'm George Pinocchio. Details in tonight's Hollywood Wrap. Plus, the Ghostbusters sequel is on, and the director is planning a little twist. How he's changing things up. Next.
Two men suspected of attacking two 49er fans this weekend at Levi Stadium appeared in court for the first time today. Dario and Amador Rebelero were assigned attorneys and did not enter a plea. They're charged with assaulting two men inside a bathroom before the game against the Kansas City Chiefs on Sunday. The attack was caught on cell phone video. A witness says it all started when one victim brushed past a man to use a stall. One of the victims remains in critical condition. The other was treated for minor injuries and released.
Well, here's something that will make you think twice about going for a drive. This is in San Jose, and yes, that's a mountain lion, a pretty good-sized mountain lion on the roof of a car. The man who lives here was awakened by a sensor going off on his home security camera. He got up to check it out, and then this is what he found.
I looked at it and saw the lion jumping on top of my car.
What was your reaction when you saw that?
Well, I told my wife, I said, come and take a look at the big lion in front.
Well, there's a big open space area behind the neighborhood, and wildlife experts think the mountain lion came from there. They say it looks to be just a couple of years old and is trying to establish its territory. They also say because there are a lot of deer and small game in the neighborhood, it'll almost certainly be back.
You know,
well, it looks well fed.
Yeah, I heard, though, that actually it's just Toyota's answer to the Jaguar. They're going to hopefully get in competition.
Oh, no, Jonathan. Let's stick to weather right now.
All right, thank you. I thought that was pretty, it was so bad it's good sometimes.
It was cute.
Thank you very much.
Cute
I'll take that from David.
So
That's a thumbs up. All right. Hey, we got a stunning cosmic alignment that took place over our skies in the pre-dawn hours this morning. By the way, transmission is not nearly as good. Okay, we should just let a sleeping dog out. That is a beautiful image there. That is the blood moon, folks. And I'll tell you how this works. Basically, it was the second blood moon of the year. These images were captured by the Griffith Park Observatory. Blood moon is caused by the Earth's shadow falling over the moon as it blocks the sun. The light passes through the Earth's atmosphere, and it gives us the moon, gives us that orange glow. It's the same kind of, you know, when the sun's setting, get that orange kind of glow kind of coming through. Same idea, that frequency, that wavelength, I should say, of light passes through the atmosphere, and that's the same thing that happens with the blood moon. Okay, let's move on. Big Bear, today, beautiful time lapse, a few cumulus clouds trying to pop up there earlier on, and a few showers that were just east of Palm Springs today, a couple of storms, but really all the activity was off to the east of us. This was moisture associated with what was left of Simon, what was Hurricane Simon, and got close to giving us some rain, but just a little too far to the east. 87 was our high today in downtown. Normally we're at 80, so we're still above average, but, you know, the heat wave is done for now. We have another warm-up in the forecast we're going to get to, I know. 70 right now in downtown. We got some clouds that have rolled in to the coast. This is LAX. Partly cloudy to mostly cloudy at the coast right now, and 68 degrees at the airport. 78 Santa Clarita, 75 Ontario. Good evening for you. 74 in Van Nuys. These temperatures are running anywhere from about 5 to 7 degrees cooler than this time last night. We head through tomorrow afternoon, temperatures will drop down even more. It's going to get cooler tomorrow, and then again as we get into the first half of the forecast, and then we're going to have a warm-up after that. This is a low-pressure system here. That is actually the remnants of Simon moving away, associated with this trough of low pressure that's keeping us cool right now, and it's going to keep us cool over the next couple of days. But here's what happens in the future scan. Thursday into Friday, we're still under that influence of that onshore flow, but by late Friday and then into Saturday, high pressure builds back in. Watch this Friday night, Saturday morning, this is a big dome of high pressure moving in. Not as strong as the last one, so we're not looking at temperatures excessive, but the warm-up will be in store after a couple of days from now. At least for now, temperatures right around average. 81 in Los Angeles tomorrow, mid-80s, Riverside, Ontario. Looks good. Mission Viejo, 82. 75, Dana Point. Pretty seasonable, actually. 70 forecast, LA Metro, Orange County. We're going to wake you up to some cloud cover in the morning. At the coast, 81 to 82 on Friday, and there's the warm-up. Saturday and Sunday, mid to upper 80s, so it's not extreme. No triple digits here, and then we'll cool it back down end of next week, Wednesday and Thursday. Valley's IE, you're in the 80s for a couple of days here. Very nice and pleasant. Mid-90s by Saturday and Sunday. Beautiful weekend, not too hot. The mountains can't complain. A little breezy come this weekend, 69 to 70. Good stuff overall. And then the high desert, thumbs up to you guys, 88 to 90 degrees throughout your entire forecast. You got good stuff coming here the next 7 days. We have another check of the weather, and I'll have another joke coming up maybe, or not.
We're looking forward to it, Jonathan.
Yeah, sure.
We'll laugh. In tonight's Hollywood Wrap, Robert Downey's guarantee if you see his new movie.
Plus, Jay Leno's plan to return to television, but first, Ghostbusters news. Here's George Pinocchio.
I think you're familiar with this man's work. The director of Bridesmaids is about to take the next Ghostbusters movie in a whole new direction. Paul Feig is directing Ghostbusters 3, and here's what he's saying via Twitter today. The big twist, he says Ghostbusters will star hilarious women, adding, that's who I'm going to call. He also called on Kate Dipple to co-write the Ghost Rider script with him. She wrote The Heat with Sandra Bullock and Melissa McCarthy, which Feig directed. Comedian Jay Leno is hoping to bring his love of cars to television. The Hollywood Reporter says Leno's new show would air on cable's CNBC in prime time. Since leaving the late-night fold, Leno has hosted a car-themed web series. Well, I'm not sure how Sarah Jessica Parker feels about cars, but fans of the Sex and the City star know her love of shoes is no secret. Sarah Jessica shared her new shoe collection today on Instagram and Twitter. She called it Take Your SJP Collection to Work Day. These heels are on display outside what was Carrie Bradshaw's apartment in Manhattan's West Village. The actress turned shoe designer even named one style in her new collection the Carrie. The red T-strap heels are in honor of her iconic TV character. Finally, actor and producer Robert Downey Jr. is guaranteeing you'll love his new movie. Team Downey, the entertainment company founded by Robert and his producer wife Susan, are the force behind The Judge. The father-son story stars Robert Duvall as the father to an estranged son played by Downey. He's a lawyer like his dad, and he returns home to defend his father after he's been accused of a crime.
I just love bringing this story to the screen. It's really entertaining. I think people are going to be surprised at how much they laugh while seeing it, but it also is a real human story. It feels like real people. Not yet.
You're going to love it.
Yeah, check it out.
I'll give you your money back if you don't like it. That goes for all of you. And trust me, I can cover it.
Oh, please. Come on.
All right, The Judge opens on Friday, along with a movie with Steve Carell and Jennifer Garner, which I'll tell you about tonight at 11.
I like your poster.
Thank you. You have to go to my Twitter page, ABC7 George.
I'm going to resend it on mine, too.
Okay.
That's
great.
cute.
Thanks.
Right.
Awesome. Perfect, George. Thank you. Up next, does your cell phone company owe you a refund? Which one is being told to pay out millions of dollars?
Plus, more Southern California communities getting rid of red light cameras. Where else the controversial technology is being abandoned?
And we're hearing from an airline passenger who claims she was booted from a plane for tweeting about a flight delay.
Red light cameras may soon be banned in unincorporated areas in Orange County. The county supervisors unanimously passed this ban yesterday. Officials cite a decline in revenue and public backlash against these devices. The ban also means the county's only red light camera at Tustin Avenue and 17th Street in Santa Ana will be removed when the ordinance takes effect. The board will have a final vote on the ban at its meeting October 21st.
Many AT&T customers will soon be getting a refund. The company is paying $105 million in fines, refunds, and penalties for billing wireless customers tens of millions of dollars of bogus charges called cramming. The Federal Trade Commission says AT&T billed customers for charges from third-party companies for services customers never asked to receive or were tricked into subscribing. The fees were not easy for customers to find on their bills. Now, AT&T has to get a customer's consent before adding third-party charges on their bills.
The Good to Go app turns out not so much. You may remember the app launched just a few days ago. Basically, it provided yes or no questions to help people, especially college students, decide if they were sober enough to consent to sex. It got a lot of buzz, much of it bad, and now, less than 2 weeks after it launched, Apple has pulled it from its App Store, citing restrictions on, quote, excessively objectionable content.
We're updating the evening's top stories next at 8:30, including a phony cop targeting women in the Inland Empire.
Plus, the first Ebola death in the U.S. prompts concerns about the spread of this disease, including possible scares at 2 area hospitals.
And a suspect in custody in connection with the terrifying kidnapping of a female UC Riverside student who was attacked in a parking garage.
Live from ABC7, this is Eyewitness News at 8:30 p.m. on LA56.
Top story at 8:30. Corona police are warning women to be on the lookout for someone posing as an officer. I'm David Ona.
And I'm Colleen Sullivan. This is Eyewitness News at 8:30 on LA56. Last month, a woman was attacked by a man she thought was a cop. Investigators say she was pulled over near Railroad and Sheridan Street around 2 in the morning. The victim told police the suspect then directed her to drive a short distance to a dark street where he assaulted her. Authorities are still searching for the suspect, who is described as a male Hispanic in his mid to late 30s. around 6 foot with a large build and short dark hair.
There's serious concern about a possible new case of Ebola in Texas. A man in a Dallas suburb is hospitalized with symptoms similar to the virus. This comes on the same day Thomas Eric Duncan died of Ebola. He's the first person to ever die of Ebola in the U.S. Federal officials in the U.S. are trying to stop the spread of Ebola. Extra precautions are in place at 5 of America's busiest airports, where passengers traveling from West Africa will be given medical questionnaires and have their temperatures screened starting this weekend.
Here at home, a patient is under observation at Centinela Hospital Medical Center in Inglewood. Despite that, LA County health officials insist there are no suspected or confirmed cases of Ebola in the county. But local hospitals are prepared just in case. Health specialist Denise Dedore has a closer look.
Overnight, Centinela Hospital personnel did what they've been training for. They followed every CDC protocol and admitted a person identified at LAX for testing of the Ebola virus. That person, who had recently traveled to Liberia, showed some symptoms that prompted concern, so ambulances transported them directly to Centinela. At Centinela, LA County public health officials say a variety of tests were done. They looked at the results today very closely and determined it was not a suspect case. I spoke with the head of emergency medicine at Providence St. Joseph Medical Center, who says that's standard protocol.
Although persons may not have symptoms, they may answer questions where they have been in contact with other people that have had symptoms.
The case follows another person being tested for Ebola at Southern California Hospital in Culver City. Hospital officials say a person there had a family member who recently traveled to Africa, so they were tested for Ebola, and the test was negative. As in the case at Centinela Hospital, personnel wore protective gear. A viewer sent in a picture of a Southern California hospital staffer wearing a hazmat suit.
It's a face shield, it's eye protection, it's a complete gown that you wear, and gloves.
Both Southern California and Centinela hospitals remain open and completely operational. County public health experts say protocols are in place to keep the public safe.
We minimize the amount of healthcare workers that are going to be dealing with that patient. We have specialized areas for that patient.
Dr. Angelique Campen says while many people are panicking about the potential spread of Ebola, more concern should be placed on other diseases that reach more Southern Californians.
More people will die of influenza this season than are ever at risk for Ebola.
Denise Dedore, ABC7 Eyewitness News.
The widow and children of the TSA agent killed in the shooting at LAX have filed a $25 million lawsuit that names the airport, the city, police, fire, other agencies, and LA County. 39-year-old Gerardo Hernandez was killed in the shooting last November. Paul Ciancio has pleaded not guilty to murder. The lawsuit alleges that security lapses and delayed medical care contributed to Hernandez's death.
Police today arrested an Orange County man accused of killing his mother-in-law 16 years ago and dumping her body in Laguna Beach. John Edward Gutierrez was arrested on his way to an Aliso Viejo gym this morning. Police say Gutierrez was initially a suspect in the 1998 death of Lillian Davila. Gutierrez was not charged at the time because investigators thought the victim was killed within 12 to 24 hours of her body being found, and he had an alibi. Investigators recently reconsidered the time of death based on weather conditions. Detectives have not released a motive. Police have made an arrest in the murder of an active member of the transgender and immigrant rights groups. 38-year-old Randy Lee Parkerson was taken into custody in Anaheim. He's being held on $1 million bail in connection to the murder of Zoraida Reyes. Her body was discovered in a parking lot of a Dairy Queen in Santa Ana back in June. Police say there's no evidence to suggest this was a hate crime.
An arrest in the kidnapping of a female UC Riverside student who was abducted in a parking structure and then went through a terrifying ordeal. Inland Empire Bureau Chief Rob McMillan has the latest details from investigators.
His name is Donald Earl Rosenbeck, and he's accused of a particularly brutal kidnapping in this parking structure just a few months ago. Police say he grabbed the victim's throat, put a sheet over her head, and tied her up before throwing her into his car, this silver Nissan Sentra, and driving off. Police say his intent might have been sexual assault.
Without getting into his mind and him telling us himself, my thought after doing this for almost 20 years is that sexual assault was probably likely.
These people are sick in the head, you know, that right there, nah.
Norma Valle lives not too far from the parking structure where it happened. Like many residents, there's relief knowing there's a suspect now in custody.
That's comforting because, you know, my husband doesn't want me walking my dog late at night.
The victim was able to get away and help police come up with this composite sketch. And a few months later, detectives say it was a fingerprint match from a prior domestic violence incident that led them to Donald Earl Rosenbeck. Detectives described the alleged victim's reaction when she got the news of Rosenbeck's arrest.
Audible and extreme relief. She was very, very happy, obviously, and I think she'll be able to sleep a little easier knowing that he's in custody.
Of course, police say they wouldn't be here today without the help of the victim, who they say not only was a good witness, but who had the ability to talk the suspect into letting her go in the first place.
Our victim, who is a psychology major at UCR, is a very, very sharp lady. She was able to humanize herself to the suspect and basically talk him down from following through with whatever his plan was for her that day.
Rob McMillan, ABC7 Eyewitness News.
Well, tonight the family of a missing Compton man is hoping you can help find him. This is a photo of 57-year-old Ronald Darnell Gary, who was last seen on September 30th walking on Long Beach Boulevard near the 105 freeway in Compton. Loved ones say Darnell suffers from dementia caused by a stroke. He is described as 5 feet 7 inches tall, 200 pounds, and if you see him, you're urged to call 911.
In court today, Minnesota Vikings running back Adrian Peterson on charges that he beat his 4-year-old son. It is just one of several incidents of domestic violence the NFL is facing right now. Eyewitness News reporter Alex Michelson has more on how the league is responding to these cases.
How are you feeling this morning?
Saying he's feeling relaxed and with his wife at his side, Adrian Peterson arrived at a Texas courtroom. Peterson is accused of using a switch to discipline his 4-year-old son. Court records show that his son suffered cuts, marks, and bruising to his thighs, back, and groin. The star Minnesota Vikings running back says he was disciplined the same way growing up in East Texas. On Twitter, Peterson has said, quote, "I've always believed that the way my parents disciplined me has a great deal to do with the success I've enjoyed as a man."
This is a case about parenting decisions and whether something unfortunate happened when a parenting decision was made by a man who believes strongly and loves his children very much.
Meanwhile, the NFL owners are meeting in New York. They watched a 40-minute educational video about domestic violence and are debating taking away some of Commissioner Roger Goodell's control in determining punishments for NFL players.
There's a lot that goes into these decisions, so these are complex, and you're trying to balance, obviously, the due process with making sure that you protect the integrity of the game.
Attorney Gloria Allred was also in New York today to meet with the NFL. Last week, she told us one of her clients was raped by an NFL player. She's now naming that player, Dallas Cowboys defensive back C.J. Spillman. She says Spillman is still playing, even though a police report was filed.
Do you think that a player should be pulled off the field, even though criminal charges or arrest has not happened?
I think that the NFL should enforce its own NFL policy.
That very policy is what the NFL owners are considering reforming. Allred says that the NFL wants to interview her client, but that the NFL needs to answer questions that Allred is submitting before they agree to an interview. As for Peterson, his trial is tentatively set to begin on December 1st. Reporting from the newsroom, Alex Michelson, ABC7 Eyewitness News.
A JetBlue passenger claims posts she made on Twitter got her booted from her flight. Lisa Carter Knight says she was boarding her flight to Boston from Philadelphia when she says the pilot misunderstood something another passenger said. Knight says the passenger joked that he hoped there was a fully stocked bar on board. Well, Knight says that's when the pilot stopped the boarding, thinking he'd been accused of being drunk. The airline says the pilot underwent a sobriety test, and when the pilot was cleared a few hours later, everyone was allowed to board except her.
They were not comfortable with me being on the flight because I had shared my experience tonight with friends and followers on a Twitter page.
The airline refunded her money. JetBlue said the tweets had nothing to do with their decision. In a statement, the airline said if a customer causes conflict at the gate, that person will be denied boarding.
Up next, a setback for guitarist The Edge and his quest to build 5 mansions in the mountains above Malibu.
And a big shock for some people in Duarte. A huge oak tree comes crashing down on their homes. Now, a big cleanup.
Well, on the heels of that heat wave, we had a cool down today. By the way, beautiful sunset there over Laguna Beach. But you know what? Temperatures are going to go back up in that 7-day forecast. Details coming up in a few.
The cleanup continues in Duarte after a massive oak tree topples onto townhomes, and this wasn't just any tree. Eyewitness News reporter Rob Hayes talked with residents who revealed more about this tree's infamous history.
For more than 100 years, this oak tree has waged war against gravity. Early this morning, it lost. The massive tree gave way and tipped, landing on several townhouses in this Duarte complex.
Crack, 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 boom! And I'm like, oh, okay.
Cherie Brown was sound asleep when she heard the crash, at first thinking an earthquake had struck.
I sat up, my son jumped up, and he's going, Mom, and I'm like, yeah, and he says, I don't think it's an earthquake. I think it's that tree out there.
Duarte city officials say just 2 of the townhomes suffered damage serious enough to force residents out. By lunchtime, tree removal crews were busy hacking down what was left of the oak. The people who live here say the Homeowners Association has been trying to do this for years, asking the city for permission to remove the old tree, worried it would topple. But Duarte's deputy city manager says the city has no say in removing trees.
This particular tree is on private property. This is not city-owned property. This is a condominium complex. So the residents here would be responding to their property management company.
But when we reached out to that company, Baldwin Real Estate Management, the woman who answered the phone refused to comment and hung up on us.
The damage to the townhomes here, not the only loss. City officials say this tree was historic, that it had a storied and, well, dark past.
This particular tree dates back to the 1800s here in the city of Duarte. It appears in many of our historical documents. It was called the hanging tree for swift justice, I guess, at that period of time in our community.
Justice today centered on who is responsible for cleaning up this mess. 5 people forced out of their townhomes, expected to be let back in sometime this evening, but with holes in roofs and walls, no estimate when they'll be able to stay here again. In Duarte, Rob Hayes, ABC7 Eyewitness News.
The California Coastal Commission today postponed a vote on a long-planned proposal by U2 guitarist The Edge to build 5 mansions in the mountains above Malibu. The problem with notice requirements will delay the vote until at least January. The Edge, whose real name is David Evans, has tried to build the homes on 150 acres overlooking the Pacific Ocean since 2006, but faced opposition from neighbors and environmentalists. A new downsized proposal would try to preserve a stretch of ridgeline visible from key spots along the coast.
Imagine if today, Wednesday, was actually your Friday. Yep, a 3-day work week sounds pretty good, and the world's richest man thinks it's a good idea. Carlos Slim, the Mexican telecom tycoon, thinks people would be better off working fewer days but longer hours each day and for a longer period of time before retiring.
I think that the people should work 3 days.
3 days.
Maybe 11 hours, but not retire at 60 or 65. He should retire at 75.
And he thinks people will then have more time for family and friends and a better quality of life. And this may be a sort of trend. As we recently reported, Virgin Group founder Richard Branson is now letting some of his employees take more time off whenever they want. He says if it works, he's going to implement the policy in all his businesses. But, you know, back to Slim and his idea of 4 days off.
Can you imagine?
Work 3, 4 days off.
I like it.
Every week.
Hours, that'd be great.
Yeah.
My goodness. Well, another warm-up on the way. Meteorologist Jonathan Novak has his complete forecast next.
Plus, Josh Beckett announces his intentions regarding his future, and find out his decision coming up in sports.
And the San Gabriel Mountains will soon be the latest piece of land to become a national monument. The concern's coming with the announcement. Well, it's starting to become a common sight in Monrovia. Check out this bear hanging out with their cubs near Valmont Drive. Heather Norgord caught this footage this afternoon on her smartphone. Very good video. It's unclear if Mama Bear and her cubs are still hanging around the area or have headed back home to the mountains.
Getting ready for the winter time. In the meantime, Jonathan Novak joins us. No winter this weekend especially.
No. We have another I was not going to say heat wave, but another warm-up in store. Temperatures, here's the thing. We've been so hot that we've had a cool down, and we'll actually continue to cool down for a couple of days. But even still, because of the heat we've had, we'll only end up maybe about average or still warmer. So it is nice out, but it is still not feeling like fall. Maybe tomorrow, the next day, we're going to edge up against what would normally be our high temperatures. But for today, that live Meganopolis 7000 HD showing we would love some rain, but it's off to the east of us. We just missed it. Some of that moisture associated with what was left of Simon, what was Hurricane Simon, is off to the east. Van Nuys 90 today, Irvine 87, Donald Beach 77. Nice temperatures, still a little bit on the warm side. 72 in Long Beach right now, where we've got some clouds that have rolled in. Marine layer should be out there the next couple of mornings, just FYI to start you off. 72 in Burbank and a chilly 48 right now in Big Bear. It's going to be in the 30s tonight. So a little bit bundle-up weather up there for the morning time overnight in Big Bear, where temperatures right now 55 again. 72 in Burbank, 68 in Santa Monica, lucky 7s in Palmdale. Temperatures are very nice and mild tonight. Let's take two satellite and radar images. This is the first one, and you see where really all the cloud cover and the rain was today, just off to the east of us, so we didn't get any moisture. We didn't get any rain except for one tiny little cell that popped up, tried to pop up for just a very brief amount of time near Palm Springs off to the east. Everybody was dry elsewise. So there it is. There's that remnants of Simon. So we've got this trough of low pressure, right? And as that's dug in here for the next couple of days, temperatures will be moderated down to close to average. Future scan shows we got about 2 days of this type of weather before things start warming up into the weekend. Why? Well, here I'll show you on Friday into Saturday is the easiest way to see what happens. So here's that trough, but off to the west, that arc, that's a ridge. Watch it budge to the east on Saturday. And that's the beginning of a warm-up, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. How hot, David Colleen? Well, 90s, but not near 100, so that's good. Yeah, I know. Not too bad. As we get through the weekend and into Monday. So today, or tomorrow and the next day look pretty good. Temperatures back to average. 81 in LA, 86 Riverside, 96 Palm Springs, 75 in Dana Point. Here's your 7-day forecast. LA Metro and Orange County powered up by AccuWeather. 81 tomorrow, 82 on Friday. We've got the clouds in the morning to start you off. And then Saturday and Sunday, there's the warm-up. Definitely tolerable, a beautiful weekend ahead. And then next week, by the way, by Wednesday next week, we have another cool down that is actually a bigger cool down than the one we're currently in. So that's nice to look forward to. The weekend, this weekend in the valleys, i.e., temperatures in the mid-90s, but a couple of days in the 80s there. My 7-day for the mountains, 60s pretty much throughout, maybe topping out around 70 or 71. Just fantastic for you in the high desert where temperatures will hover right around the upper 80s throughout. Dallas has the latest on this forecast on ABC7 at 11.
Thank you, Jonathan.
You're welcome.
On to sports now. Clayton Kershaw may have given up the game-winning home run to Matt Adams in St. Louis last night, but one thing is to take solace in, and that was the first home run Kersh has ever given up to a lefty on a curveball, ever. Interesting stat, but he would probably say who cares. Kershaw's teammate and fellow starting pitcher Josh Beckett has announced he is retiring. It's been an up-and-down season for the 34-year-old. After starting the season on the disabled list with troubles, he came back to throw his second career no-hitter in May, but injury struck once again when Beckett was hobbled with a torn labrum in his hip, which would need surgery to heal. And after mulling it over, Beckett decided he couldn't see himself going to rehab and coming back at this point in his life, so he is retiring. Doc Rivers and the Clippers were at the Galen Center tonight for an inter-squad scrimmage. The game was originally scheduled to be played at Staples, but Kings president Luke Robitaille asked to move the game so their championship banner ceremony could be broadcast on national TV. After the scrimmage, Doc took his players to Staples so they could watch the championship ceremony and get used to the feeling of raising one of their own. And college football now, USC dropping out of the rankings this week after their shocking loss on a Hail Mary to Arizona State. The Trojans have a chance to redeem themselves quickly as they take on number 10 Arizona in the desert on Saturday. If the men of Troy have any hopes of claiming the Pac-12 South title, it'll have to begin with a win against the Wildcats this weekend.
They played a hard-fought game against Oregon. They get a couple more days to get their bodies back, to get fresh. And they get 2 more days to stare at our schemes. That's the beauty of football, is that you can have a tough loss like we had Saturday, and 7 days later you get a chance to go out and redeem yourself.
It's not like we had a bad game, it came down to the end there, which is unfortunate, but I think this week just go in and play our game and stay focused and, not really worry about the things we can't control.
Again, the Trojans take on number 10 Arizona Saturday at 7:30 p.m. And don't forget, at Eyewitness News at 11 p.m., we will have your Kings Championship celebration.
The San Gabriel Mountains will soon become elevated from a national forest to a national monument. But in spite of the benefits this will bring the area, there are still many who are opposed to the change. Eyewitness News reporter Leo Stallworth has more.
President Obama plans to announce on Friday during a speech in San Dimas that he will set aside nearly 350,000 acres of the San Gabriel Mountains near L.A. as a national monument.
The San Gabriel Mountains are incredible national treasure.
So the national monument status will only encompass national forest land within the San Gabriel Mountains. Dan Rossman of the Wilderness Society says the president's decree would give the San Gabriel Mountains historical cultural significance, allowing extra federal resources to pour into the area to clean up the trash, littering hiking trails, rivers, and more.
So we've worked with volunteers to do cleanups in the river where you'll find dirty diapers, trash, old articles of clothing. This will help bring the resources and management focus to ensure that people have a place to play without overburdening the beautiful San Gabriel Mountains.
2 days ago, protesters in Pasadena held anti-Obama signs that read "No Obama Legacy." They made it clear they did not want the San Gabriel Mountains declared a national monument, saying they wanted to keep the federal government out of the lives of hikers, ATV riders, hunters, and foothill residents. We talked to avid hikers.
This is too extravagant for me to make it a national monument. National forest is fine.
Once again, it probably comes with fees and more restrictions, and I really would hope that the government takes so much of our money every time we turn around anyway.
Some local government agencies are concerned about having access to fighting fires within areas of the mountains budding their communities. The Wilderness Society says any fear is misplaced.
And we'll see that as this national monument rolls forward, those conflicts simply don't exist.
Leo Stallworth, ABC7 Eyewitness News.
Stay with us. We'll be right back. If it seemed like there were more kids on the sidewalks today, it's because it was National Walk to School Day. Hundreds of students at John Muir Elementary School in Glendale were taking part, arriving in school on foot with their parents. Even family pets got into the spirit. The day encourages kids to walk for health, and it promotes concern for the environment with less traffic congestion and pollution. Did you walk to school? I walk to school every day.
Every day.
Every day.
Elementary at least.
Middle
too far
school,
away.
yeah, both my schools are far.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us for Eyewitness News Day 8:30 and LA56 Law and Order SVU is coming up next.
Good night.